best version of yourself to those around you is understandable. However, when it comes to online spaces, this pressure to conform to physical expectations and beauty standards can be pretty daunting, especially for young people. Access to tools which allow for tweaking of online images to satisfy these expectations, known as selfie editing tools, are now pretty common, making conformity to these standards impossibly easy. But what are these tools doing for users' self image and well being? New research published in the New Media and Society journal profiled nearly 80 young people who uses these technologies and found trends towards negative body images and even the desire to physically alter their appearance for real. To discuss this further, I'm joined by the lead author of this new research, Julia Coffey, Associate Professor in Sociology from the University of Newcastle. Good morning, Julia.
Good morning.
Can you tell us a bit more about how these selfie editing tools work and how common they are?
Sure. So when we first designed the study, selfie editing apps like Facetune and FaceApp had been released quite recently. And as we sort of went on to do the study, the technology became more and more embedded just into people's phones through the camera app itself that comes standard in smartphones and iPhones now. So we've sort of seen it change and become even more embedded just in our base technologies since we started the study. So it's been an interesting aspect, I suppose, that the main apps like Facetune and FaceApp, they enable cosmetic surgery sorts of edits, as well as a whole lot of what are called touch-ups, which is just removing blemishes or freckles or adding them or trying on different hairstyles, gender swap, like kind of playful, experimental kind of filters. But primarily we found that people were not using them sort of seriously unless they were trying to actually use them to perfect or optimize their images, which they felt was really required in order to take up space or to be visible online through, say, posting photos of themselves. So we also heard that it's a really important way for young people to just be part of the world. Their social lives are digital now, and the two things cannot be separated. So they would say that part of being online is really important as a way of saying, like, I'm here, I exist, this is what I'm up to, this is my life. But being seen alongside a range of images that they would assume are already edited by their peers, by celebrities, influencers, that whole landscape is saturated with edited, perfected images. So, of course, the editing tools, whether it's in your phone, through lighting apps or lighting edits, or through Facetune, were seen as being really a sort of unavoidable practices to deal with that.
Now, there was quite a few young people involved in this study. How did you conduct this research and what was the participant profile?
Sure. So we started out with interviewing 30-odd young people. So they volunteered to participate. We put a call out on social media for people living in Newcastle and Melbourne. That's the two locations that we did the study. And anyone could volunteer to participate as long as they were aged between 18 and 24. And we chose that age range because we know that that's when body image concerns often peak in young people. We expected that more women than men would come forward to participate because of the kind of gendered profile that body image or image editing practices carry, and that sort of bore out with who volunteered to participate. So we also had a range of non-binary or gender fluid or questioning participants, which is also interesting. We know that maps on to body image concerns in a similar way to young women. So we ended up with people who were undertaking a range of different editing. So about a third of the people were doing quite intensive edits, like changing their body and face quite significantly, whereas others were saying they were really trying to avoid doing significant edits because they were worried that would change how they saw their physical selves as a result. So they would often just do like light edits in terms of changing the lighting or changing the colour of photos, which could have an impact of smoothing skin, but with sort of tacitly doing that rather than using a particular technological aspect in an app to physically blur skin, which is one of the things that Facetune can do.
Mm. And you mentioned earlier that Facetune is a way for younger people to say that they're here, they're a part of this digital world. And just now you were saying that certain people don't want to change specific aspects because they're scared of that they'll see themselves differently. Did you feel, and did the research see that there was more a majority of people saying, no, I don't want to Facetune, or more people saying that they find themselves feeling more comfortable when they're presenting a better image online?
It was sort of all of those things. So I think people did take up space online without using Facetune, of course, but they were just sort of feeling like they had to edit or improve the photo or their appearance in some way before they could post it. But many avoided doing the more intensive edits. So around a third did do sometimes quite intensive edits I had in the past. Others really were feeling that was a fraught or sort of slippery slope kind of process that one participant I remember said, I would just see that it was a spiral, like I would just spiral if I started doing that, because once I started, like, how would I stop? Because then it just kind of would require you to keep making those edits and then maybe want to make those edits in real life. And we did have a group of participants across the study, mainly young cis women, who did talk about having significant, body image impacts as a result of editing and feeling like they were sort of stuck within that cycle, which then went on to include Botox and lip fillers and cheek fillers as well, which then became something that was hard for them to figure out how to stop doing as well, because it's so expensive. So, yeah.
Yeah, because there is such this beauty filter that is embedded all throughout social media on multiple platforms. Is there a strong link between editing photos and cosmetic procedures? You said, like you just mentioned, it's starting to come up, but is there strong evidence supporting this?
There is evidence in the psychological field. They've done studies of association where people say that they're more likely to have cosmetic surgery after using these sort of cosmetic surgery type apps. Our study was the first one that was able to sort of study that link in a qualitative way, which means actually asking people why that is the case instead of just finding a positive association. So we've kind of got more information now about why cosmetic surgery might be seen as more appealing. And it's because, as one participant said in the article we talked, you mentioned at the start, they said once you see yourself as how you want to look, you want to make that real. You see that version of yourself as real, and it creates a whole lot of body image dissonance to then have like a difference between the perfected image and the physical self. So that's some of the key findings really of the study. And a reason I think that many people are reluctant to use structural editing or intensive editing apps. So many people are deliberately avoiding them for that exact reason. So I don't want to, claim that everybody is using these things. People kind of see the risks or are quite concerned about what these editing capabilities will have for body image and self-esteem. So then they try to just avoid them as much as possible, but still feel the need to edit their photos in subtle ways.
And do you think this social issue will get worse, or is there a way to make it less of a negative impact to the younger youth?
The thing that's concerning me about it is that the rise in aesthetic, cosmetic and beauty industries is happening alongside the rise in beauty AR cameras, which are being developed very kind of deliberately at the moment by those industries to visibilise what procedures will look like through these automated filters. So they will give you the app, say, in a clinical setting or in a beauty store, for example, to say this is what you could look like if you buy this product, or this is what you could look like if you have this procedure or have a lip filler, Botox, whatever it is. So there's a real concerted effort to use these tools to sell beauty very, very deliberately and more intensively to young people who are already so concerned about these issues and already feel so much pressure to be optimised and look perfect online. So I see the problem really being in the industry and citing cultural beauty and racialised norms, of course. So it's hard, though, to just say to young people, or just avoid them, because that's not really fair. We live in a world that rewards beauty, so it puts them in a pretty impossible position.
Well, thank you so much, Julia, for coming on and talking about this issue that does impact so many of us.
No problem. Happy anytime.
That was Associate Professor Julia Coffey from the University of Newcastle, discussing her latest research on self-editing tools. What do you think?